I think it's terribly dangerous for an artist to fulfill other people's expectations.
So I'm here this afternoon with Tom Hagler, who's written a book on David Bowie, edited by Tony Visconti, his producer for many, many years. And we have a cunning plan, a creative plan, to offer business seminars that blend lessons from the arts, particularly David Bowie, but not exclusively David Bowie, with parallel lessons that people can learn in business as leaders and managers of business, building upon the work that I've done for many years at the Academy of Rock. Good afternoon, Tom.
Good afternoon.
Now, we're launched straight into Bowie's uncanny ability to change what he did, keep the audience he had, and get a new one, which is a rare commodity. The norm in music is to have one-hit wonders. So tell me something about that.
Well, you think pop music, how quickly it changes in fashion. I mean, in their days, they used to think if they were around for a year, maybe 2 years, even the Beatles, that was it. They weren't thinking any longer than that. So for him to have that 40, 50-year track record in something so volatile as adolescent fashion, let's face it, is phenomenal. So how did he do it? What did he do? I think he was very lucky that he was given a chance to experiment out of the public eye. So he forms his first band in 1964 before the Beatles released Love Me Do, 1963, and he's still waiting for his first hit by the time the Beatles have split up in 1969. All that time he's working his socks off, and he tries to be a psychedelic rocker, a mod, a rocker, a music hall wannabe, a mime artist, a Tibetan monk. He tries everything. All of that's going to come into the mix later. That bravery he had to try and change and do anything that would work and keep him entertained, I think. What do you the ability to change, responding to your environment, clearly is a lesson every business.
I go to businesses that the big ones, small ones, and by the time they reach a certain size, they tend to ossify. They don't all. Some of them keep that spirit of smallness going, but size is quite important in the business world. And of course, the more successful you are, like the record company, they just want you to produce the same record, so they keep going. So it's really difficult for particularly large businesses to, challenge themselves and decide that after they've had a successful career doing glam rock that they would do soul and then ambient Tangerine Dream inspired music. These are some of the transitions that Bowie went through. This is unthinkable in the world of some businesses. I use examples like Virgin to illustrate the more nimble and agile ones. So we could riff on that if we did a talk for someone. But anyway, go on.
The balance of risk and everything. And the other thing I think that is very interesting between business and something like music is that Bowie, genius, creativity. We immediately use these words in an art cultural sense, in a music sense. We don't so often, I guess, use them in a business sense. But creativity should it not be at the heart of a lot of businesses?
It should at the heart of some businesses, the ones that want to be innovators. And in the business world, I define creativity as the thinking of novel ideas, which is typically the realm of artists. They sit in attics, dream, and maybe their creativity doesn't come to much, but that's the sort of dreaming part of innovation. Businesses are much more interested in innovation, which is the successful implementation of the idea. And they don't generally appreciate you can't have one without the other. It's a question of balance then. So in research and development firms, they probably need a lot more creativity, the sort of stuff, the experimentation that Bowie's noted for. And if you're running a steel production plant, you don't really want things to go wrong most of the time. And I'm working around the world in gold mining companies. It's also dangerous, so creativity is perceived as dangerous. So you have to think about safe creativity. And so the translations of Bowie and other music into the business world isn't always just an automatic fit. You have to think about what is safe levels of creativity for the business involved. But I mean, we use post-it notes in the way that Bowie used them to brainstorm. There are an awful lot of parallels in methods that people use to do business creativity that are related to artistic creativity, but they don't realise it actually. So this leads me on to sort of ask you a bit about the other great talent of Bowie, huge creative talent, but someone who was not frightened to surround himself with people that were better than themselves. A few examples, perhaps.
Yeah, he wasn't scared of doing that, being in the room and not being the greatest musician or songwriter or even singer. He welcomed that, and that is very courageous. So he would do a soul album. He would get the best musicians from the Philly soul, the Philly sound in. He became friends with John Lennon. So what does he do? He asked John Lennon to come in and record. Let's just record a track, see what happens. Of course, he's terrified before John Lennon comes in. People talk about him pacing up and down. He's absolutely petrified. But he still did it. That's what's so wonderful. Of course, Lennon comes in. He's very easygoing, creates an electric atmosphere. He's a very, very funny guy. They start playing around things. They come out slowly with this song, this riff, this jam. Fame, his first US #1. I mean, that's astounding. He's well into his career then. So it shows just by being brave enough, interesting enough to bring in these people, just see what happens. Don't necessarily put yourself at the forefront. Just let them breathe.
And what I see going on with businesses that aren't as successful, they surround themselves with people that are less good than themselves, and the good ones are not frightened, like Richard Branson, to get people on board who are great and be challenged by them.
He says his greatest ability is the power to delegate, which from a leader is so interesting, because the word lead, no, he's saying, you lead, I'll just sort of, I trust you, that's why I've picked you. That's the skill there, isn't it?
Branson also invests a great deal of time in hiring people that he trusts, because you can't just pick them off the internet, so that he doesn't have to spend all of his time managing them. Whereas bad managers, there's the old adage of, you sort of hire people for their skills and sack them for their attitude. I think Branson hires them for their attitude, and if necessary, they can then improve their skills. We can all learn. And I think that's a transferable lesson to Bowie, actually.
There's one I'm going to give you, and I'm going to throw you a left ball. But one of the things about Bowie that I think everybody thinks about are his haircuts. How important his haircuts were to his image. I mean, he was Mr. Cool. There can't be a business lesson from his haircuts, can there?
You would think not, but I'm going to try and pull the sword from the stone, insofar as I've never been asked the question by a corporate business, should I have a new haircut? However, people do set a lot of store by appearance, and of course, within the bandwidth of business, there is an acceptable level of, what's unusual, and you can step outside of it really easily. So I haven't got a suit and a tie on here, but, and Branson cuts people's ties off with his scissors. But, there's probably a narrower range of acceptable haircuts. But these days, I don't think that really matters. But I do know people that invest a lot of time on Instagram with their haircuts.
But image therefore is.
I think image is terribly important.
Yeah.
If you want to be considered to be, serious as a leader, then perhaps that may come down to how you present yourself. If you want to be considered a maverick as a leader, then perhaps you might invest in a Bowie haircut. we are stretching at the limits of the transferable.
Yeah, we are.
So but it just proves that people could ask us anything if they engage us. So once again, this is Tom. I'm Peter. The Academy of Rock offer these rather different, engaging, better than the usual crap, interactive lectures and talks and experiences. And if you want to have a Bowie performance at the end of it, we do that as well, don't we, Tom? He plays the drums, or he may play the guitar, I don't know. But anyway, get in touch. Thank you very much, Tom.
It's dangerous for an artist to fulfill other people's expectations.